It's my pleasure to welcome you all for today's panel discussion on how Fintech is making investing accessible to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in India. We are fortunate to have a distinguished panel representing diverse perspectives across global banking, financial consulting, technology advisory, and investor education. Over the last decade, India's financial services industry has shifted from branch-led manual system to digital and technology-driven platforms. Fintech has played a key role in improving access, affordability, and participation, especially beyond metro cities. To set the tone for our discussion, I would like to begin by asking each of you how the fintech world differs from traditional functioning of the financial services industry. May I start with you, Mr. Varun?
Am I audible? Yeah. So let me begin by making a thought there that the lines between Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities is really blurred right now. When it comes to financial literacy or financial inclusion, we are all getting there together at the same speed and same pace. 30 years ago, when the world was still getting introduced to liberalization, privatization, globalization, etc., the idea of opening up the world was still, at least we as a country, was still adapting to that idea. I think everything changed after 2020, when all of us were locked in our own houses and we still had to make transactions. We still had to procure as basic necessities as groceries. We still had to pay rents. We still had to pay EMIs, and everything had to be BAU. But at the same time, we had to adapt to this new world where it was not being driven by a financial crisis like in 2008, but more of a biological crisis, which the world was now facing, unprecedented to anyone. And that's when platforms like payment services, Paytm, PhonePe, our very own Bhim UPI started gaining more prominence. So financial technology is not just a revolution anymore, it's a living reality which all of us are a part of. And be it we are coming from any background, we are coming from any walk of life. Today when I took a cab to the campus, I used Paytm to pay the fare. 7 or 8 years ago, I would not have even imagined a cabbie carrying a QR code and asking, sir, please scan this and pay whatever the fare is. We would not have imagined a vegetable vendor. I think this was one of the statements of the then Finance Minister of India, standing on the aisle of the parliament floor and talking about, oh, you cannot expect a vegetable vendor on the street carrying a credit card machine with them. But right now, practically everyone has a machine which we can use to pay that person for the service or the goods that they're providing. So financial technology is not just changing the way we deal with finances, it is also changing the way we look at the world of finance. It's gone to every hand, it's gone to every place, every nook and corner. And I guess that's how relevant this theme is. And with financial technology, obviously, you don't have an unlimited resource, right? You go to Amazon, you kind of look at an article and you think of buying it without even thinking about your bank account at times. So it's also become a lot more compulsive. Years ago, when you were purchasing something, you would have given this a bit of a thought. Do I need this? Do I need to buy this? Do I need it in my place? But I guess that hesitation is slowly moving away from us, right? We are moving towards, from a spendthrift society, we are moving towards a society which wants to spend. At times not knowing the difference between the need and greed, but sometimes we are just, we want to express ourselves through this financial freedom that we have all of a sudden got. And this is very new to us, so we are still adapting, we are still trying to get there with the financial literacy, and the financial inclusion does not guarantee financial literacy. So I guess that's where folks like us, we have to make sure that people understand that you have to manage your finances as well. I think what Pallavi ma'am was talking about, finance is a backbone of every family, right? Years ago, our parents used to be that pillar of warnings. Then don't spend on things that you don't need. But right now, I think everyone is free to do whatever they want because everyone has a GPay or a PhonePe or a Paytm account. So I guess that's where it becomes very crucial for us to understand how financial technology works.
Thank you, Varun sir. As you said, if you see, even the street vendors could able to use all the digital platforms very well. Thank you, sir. Building on that, I would now like to invite Dr. Ashwini Sahu from Deloitte. Could you please share your thoughts on the same?
Sure. I think our question is more towards the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, right? So nothing can relate more than to me because I'm from a Tier 2 city, probably Tier 3 city. Tier 4 is existing, no? Otherwise, I would go Tier 4. So if a person from that city, when joined Deloitte, directly reporting the CFO, I work for the CFO office in Deloitte. Don't take this number outside this room, but the first assignment I was given, there is a 460 crore investment came to Deloitte India, and my CFO wanted to invest it. I'm a business finance guy. I'm not an investor. Honestly, I'm speaking. I mean, these people are more qualified investors, but I'm a business finance guy. After 2 hours, I came back to his room and I said, Vinay, I have 10,000 investment and it is on 20% loss. And you want me to invest 460 crore rupees. That's what a thought comes to the mind of a Tier 2 person coming from the Tier 2 city when you talk about the investment. I was no different than that. But thanks to Fintech, we have a lot of platforms available. We have a lot of resources available nowadays to do that. So it requires a structural shift and a mindset shift. Structural shift in the sense, initially it was bank-led, it was NBFC-led, it was a branch-led, it was but now it is platform-driven. It is an API-driven. It is UPI-driven, right? If you see, how many of you could imagine an investment to a crypto asset without Fintech? Can you imagine it? Possibly no. But now you can do it. You can buy a crypto sitting here, any part of the country, at your comfort, at your home. Can you imagine 10 years back buying a fractional of a real estate? Buying a real estate could have been a crores and crores of investment. But because of the Fintech, now you can buy a fraction of a real estate starting from 1/10 of the cost. Recently, have you heard about buying a toll gate investment? You can start from 100 rupees and buy a toll. Like, you can, I don't know what it is called. As I said, I'm not a typical investor, but all the return that you will get through that app. Have you thought about 10 years back, without Fintech, can you buy a gold bond, a corporate bond, a US security? Is it possible now? That's all because of the Fintech. So there is a report from the SEBI and IADA I think, it was published in SEBI guideline, I think in the 24-25. 60% of the investment that has come in last 3 years post-COVID has come from Tier 2 and the Tier 3 cities. And that is only possible because of all this Fintech growth that you have, all the APIs that you have, all the platform that you have, like example, the Zerodha or Grow, or all these platforms that we have, it was only possible because of that. That's all I had to say on that.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu. Your insights clearly highlight the process and transformation are evolving in the Fintech era. Mr. Subhendu, could you please share your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. Uh, so it doesn't feel like it's Saturday. I'm sitting with CAs and CFA professionals, and that's the usual routine for me, right? I come from a technology consulting background where I help clients to understand or build their technological capabilities for financial domain. Now, coming to the invent of fintech and how it has moved to tier 2, tier 3 cities, I will take you further back. I'm from West Bengal. My village is 300 kilometers away from Calcutta. And this is the real life scenario that I'm going to brief you about. There is a famous mandir in my village. A village lady, traditional attire, ordered her flower, fruits, and everything through e-commerce platform. The guy delivered in the mandir premises. The lady paid it through any of the GPay or PhonePe or whatever it is. To me, that's financial inclusion. That's the extent where India has already reached in terms of how fintech is shaping up the last mile operations in terms of delivering goods or benefits to the citizens. So we just started compared to any other developed countries. Long way to go, but I can see the real benefits which is being communicated or used by the real citizens of the far-fetched cities, from the far-fetched cities in India. So that's my view.
Thank you, Mr. Subhendu. That was a valuable view on how technology is enabling scalable and sustainable financial solution. Moving on to Mr. Vinit, maybe hear from your thoughts.
Yeah, so I'll mainly speak about two things, banking and broking. I think this predates before you guys were born, because this predates when I opened my bank account. Earlier, you needed a reference to open a bank account. There had to be an existing bank account holder who would introduce you to the bank to open that account. And now you can just go to any random bank app and click on open an account, and you can do that online. The same with broking. You had to fill loads of paperwork. Even when Zerodha started, while your trading and investments were on the app, you had to open an account doing manual forms and signatures. I remember my colleague, his name is Kalpesh, he's the head of customer support. When he joined the sales team about 10 years back, in Mumbai locals, he would get new customers and they would keep the account opening form on his back to sign those papers. From there, we have come to a point where everything happens online. This is mainly because of two reasons. I think one, the internet, availability of internet. Earlier, internet used to be very expensive. Now it's very much accessible, cheaper, and hence almost everybody has unlimited data packs. That's one. And the other is Aadhaar. So it was with the help of Aadhaar that so many new accounts could be opened in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. To give you a very specific number, for example, AUM, mutual fund AUM, has grown 20% in the last 10 years, 2015 to 2025. It has grown 20% in India. But if you ignore the top 15 or 20 cities, the rest of India has grown 31%. So that is how much investment penetration has happened in tier 2, tier 3 cities and beyond that as well. So yeah, all that is happening. Again, it has happened because of the internet, Aadhaar card, and with the help of all the fintech startups that have come up in the last decade or so. But the next challenge right now, I believe here is a lot of it might be undone because of AI. For example, account opening, firstly you could just do online. Then they came up with live KYC, where you had to actually do a video of yourself, or you had to connect with a customer agent, a support agent who would talk to you online. But now AI has enabled people to create deepfakes in a live video chat as well. So I'm not saying that we'll go back to these manual forms, but we will see some other kind of revolution very soon. That's about it that I have to say.
Thank you, Vinit. I still remember when I was studying BCom, I guess in 2005, I stood for more than 5 hours to open a bank account. And at the end of the day, I could not able to do it also. Because since my friend was working, now within last 5-10 years before I went, within a minute I could able to open. Even now, if any loan is required, app is available. You can fill the data with the help of the customer care and we can get it within a day, provided if you have eligibility. Thank you for that. Thank you to all our panelists for setting strong foundation for today's discussion. We have heard diverse and connected views from institution, consulting, technology, and investors. With this context in place, let's move to our next question. Mr. Vineet, I'd like to begin by inviting you or common investors able to easily understand and use platform like Zerodha. How do you ensure customers are well-trained and confident? To what extent do investors become dependent on the platform, and what level of knowledge do you expect them to have?
Thank you so much for asking that question because we lay a lot of emphasis on that. So Zerodha has this platform called Zerodha Varsity, which is where about 90% of my work is focused. So Zerodha Varsity started about 11 years back as a blog, which would have modules. Each module would cover, let's say, fundamental analysis, technical analysis, or modules on options trading, futures trading, etc. So all of that was a written content on the website. Now we have it in the video format, in live online classes, in audio format, and we also make it into a lot of social media friendly formats like, let's say, for Instagram or Twitter. So we are doing a lot of those things through Zerodha Varsity. You have an app as well, and all of this is for free. You don't even require a login. So for example, so when I was joining Zerodha as part of Varsity, I had asked my manager, Karthik Rangappa, who was interviewing me, what's the revenue model for Zerodha Varsity? You are employing so many resources to this, you are building a team now, so how do you plan to monetize this? And he said, we don't need to monetize this, the broking business is doing fine. We want to use Zerodha Varsity as a way of educating customers, of educating prospective customers who would then join probably our platform. But it's not necessary that you need to join our platform because you don't even need a login. So you can use all of the study material in whatever format you want for free. So that's one. But there are other ways on the trading app also how we help investors be aware and alert. For example, we have this feature called nudge. Let's say you see a stock that is at a great valuation and you want to invest. Probably you have not seen the market news. Probably that stock has gone in NCLT or there's some problem going on with the company. The regulator has intervened and you probably don't know. And you press a buy order on the app. You will see a nudge pop up saying, are you sure you want to buy this? This is going through certain regulatory actions. So while you are trading, also we are trying to do that. Besides that, while we say that fintech is going in tier 2, tier 3 cities and beyond, a lot of people still prefer the personal touch. So we have also invested in a few companies like Asset Plus through our, so we have an investment arm called Rainmatter. Through Rainmatter, we invest in a lot of these fintech companies. One of that is Asset Plus, where we essentially try to connect with the distributors, help distributors. We educate them in very simplified format how they can then educate prospective customers in these tier 3, tier 4 towns. So these are a few efforts that we are doing on our, maybe trying to move the needle only by little much, but we are trying to do that to educate investors and prospective investors.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you for sharing that. Your response clearly highlights the importance of investor education and ease of use. Let's hear it from Mr. Varun on what advice would you give to new entrants in the financial service sector? Do you expect them to be fully skilled when they enter, or are you open to train them to adapt to your systems?
Thanks for asking that question, and thanks once again for having me here. So let me take you back to 2015. I was just starting out in Goldman Sachs. second day into my job, and I have an introductory call with my managing director, who is sitting out of the London location, who started off in the Bangalore office and grown levels. And he was not yet the managing director, but we knew that he's going to get promoted in the next year or so. And he was leading a function, and as a customary call, we needed to have him onboarding us in a way. So I still remember it was a small room, and we used to have those speaker phones. Back then we did not have Zoom like we have today. So I dialed in on his London number, and he told me a lot of things, and two things still stayed with me from then. A, you're not married to this place. You can leave at any point in time that you want or we want. Second, you need to look at your job in a way as to how to make lives easier for those around you. That's where value addition comes in. And when you would be asking me, would you be asking me this question about, say, MS Office right now? You would expect me to know MS Excel if I'm working in finance. You would expect me to know PowerPoint if I'm going into marketing, for example. I'm not really sure what all MS Office softwares you use, but then that's my general idea. So likewise, it's very important for you to have a certain literacy when it comes to new automation tools or financial technology tools when you enter into an organization. I'm not saying that you should be proficient, but having a basic knowledge of how things work, how these tools work, helps you gain that extra edge, or helps you be a little ahead in the curve, a little ahead in the race. I should not be calling it race, but a little ahead in the curve of your peers, among your peers. That's where you add that alpha in your role. That's where you add that value in your role. How does it help you? Well, does it mean that the firm as an organization is not going to help you on the job? It does. We have a lot of training programs. We have a lot of in-house courses, study materials, which you get access to once you start working there. It does not mean that we are not going to help you out, but it also does not mean that we do not expect you, or we do not appreciate a prior knowledge that you have on these resources. So that's where it becomes very easy for us to actually handhold someone and bring them on board on these technologies that we are already working with. For example, Tableau, Alteryx, and I don't know, Python. All these may sound really exotic tools if you had asked me this question 5 years, 6 years ago, but I keep saying that a lot has changed, a lot has exponentially changed, in fact. In the last few years, because a lot of us had a lot of free time back home in 2020, and we had a lot of time to get used to these resources. So I guess that's where people started acknowledging the fact that you just cannot be doing Excel sheets anymore. You have to find a way to get rid of them. So that's where we are kind of looking at our freshers, if you may will.
Thank you for that insight. I hope our students should understand how these apps, or we have to learn many things before entering into the job world. That's really nice. So, Mr. Subhendu, could you please share your experience on how can fintech solution contribute to achieving the sustainable development goals, particularly in areas such as financial inclusion, economic growth, and reducing inequality?
Very good question, madam. So when you look into the sustainable development goal, there are different charters available, right? So when it comes to the role of fintech and the role of banking and other government institution in this one, it's huge. Again, I will take an example. Currently, I am a startup advisor for one of the government institution which provides incubation center for the new age startups for northeastern part of the country. And there are 4 startups that whom I am guiding right now is from the state of Manipur. Now, the way it is, we all know what has happened in Manipur in last 1.5 years, 2 years. In my introduction call with them, I can really sense the frustration of the new age entrepreneurs who are actually on the ground and facing numerous difficulties. Still, they have to go to broker to open or to register their firms, right? And we, as a mentor, has to guide them on the right path and the tools and the platforms that are available right now, which will make the things easier. So when it comes to sustainable development goal, first is financial inclusion. That's also what I faced during my incubation time with them, is people are having less knowledge, even these entrepreneurs have less knowledge on how to use those platforms. Who can help me in this regard, friction, without giving any kind of brokerage, right? So that's the first barrier that I break to them, and provided them the platforms who can actually go ahead and support them in those things, right? Opening a bank account, not for them, but also within that their vicinity, people don't have a bank account. And sitting in Bangalore, it's very difficult for us to imagine the state or the situation that is on ground in Manipur. It's very different. When I learned first hand from them, it's shocking. It took me 30, 40 years back how it was then, right? And now, in this particular context, the role of the financial institution, Fintech firms plays a major role there. First is inclusion of those people who are actually trying to do something of their own, including them in the financial system. That's the first thing. Second is providing them growth opportunities with the help of all those learning platforms that we have also here in this particular panel. How these platforms can enable their learning journey. Over a period of time, they will obviously become the master, but they also need hand-holding at this point. And the final thing is that with the Fintech platforms and other applications, right? Marketplace applications that is there, where to sell their products. They weren't aware of those particular things also. How to use Facebook ads, Instagram stories, and all these things. Those needs to be taught, hand-holded, just like you do for a 5-year-old kid, right? And in this particular context, sitting here in Bangalore, we are talking about these things, but I have experienced how valuable or the role of Fintech firm is there in those remote areas where people are really want to do something but unable to do so because of their poor knowledge at this moment. And that's the role of Fintech firms in this sustainable development goals.
Oh, thank you, sir. That clearly links fintech innovation with inclusive growth and broader societal impact. Dr. Ashwini, you work in the financial consulting and process domain. How has fintech changed the way you function and deliver results? Do professionals need to adapt first, or does technology adapt to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I have seen the transformation and the evolvement of fintech in my role in last 15, 16 years. When I joined Accenture 15 years back, I started my career with Accenture. That time, as I said, I'm a business finance guy, so every month end is very busy for us. For those who are going to start this career very soon after you pass, if you're listening from the back, if you're not listening, sleeping, that's okay. So every day is going to be a deadline. So first business day of the month, like if it is a 1st March, we do closing for the February. Next month, so on. And then we pass a lot of provisions, a lot of accruals, we report revenue, we report cost, we report margin. So whatever you see in the SEC filing, Security Exchange Commission filing, that's the team that I lead. They report that. So we prepare it, we publish it, 10Ks, 10Qs. In my initial days of Accenture, I start 8:30 a.m. in the morning when it is a month end, and month end is going to be very crucial for every finance guy. Everybody would agree to it. By 6:30 p.m. in the evening, I would pull all the report from SAP, prepare the actuals. Say, for example, actual is 100. I had forecasted 80. 20 is the variance. For this, I and my team used to take almost 8 to 10 hours. And at the evening, we go to CFO, say, hey, your forecast was 80, actual is 100, 20 is the variance. That's it. If the CFO asks, what contributed the variance? Why did you have a variance? We had no answer. It's not a capability issue that we did not have a capability to do that because we didn't have the bandwidth or the time to do that. Right? All the time went on report pulling from SAP, from this tool, that tool, doing pivot in the Excel. And that's exactly what Fintech is doing for us within a minute now. Right? We have dashboards. We have tools. We have all the technologies available. When I log in at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, on the month end, we call it day plus one. Just a click of a button, I have all the reports ready. That 100 rupees or $100, whatever I say, is actuals versus 80 is the 20, it gives me the report. Now I have the entire day to see what contributed that variance. To invest my time in the storytelling, to invest my time in the data storytelling, to make effective decision, to enable my CFO that what has went wrong. That's exactly what a very basic example I gave you. Like if I tell you the budget of this event is, say for 1 lakh rupees, how much you spent actually? It may be 1.5 lakh. To do that, you would need 2 to 3 hours. And if I ask you what contributed 50,000 extra, you would have no answer. But imagine if you have it within a click, then you will have 1 day time to analyze where it went wrong. Did the guest took expensive gifts or it has gone somewhere else, right? That's exactly what Fintech is doing in day-to-day job everywhere. And to a second question, I think it is mutual. We have to adapt the Fintech, and Fintech also has to adapt us. It's a mindset change for every human being or every person that is adopting to the Fintech. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. So it's like we have to go with the changes, whatever is required. We have to adopt the changes. Thank you, sir. If time permits, I'll ask one more question. This is my last question to Mr. Varun. From your experience, do you feel AI is becoming more dependable than people, or is human judgment still irreplaceable?
Well, that's a very good question and very relevant today. Can ChatGPT replace your partner? Well, jokes aside, any AI tool that you can think of today is a tool after all, right? It makes your work easy. As Ashwini was pointing out, we have dashboards today. We used to have dashboards. We used to have various Excel sheets. And before Excel sheets, we used to have DOS-based system where we used to do data entry and it used to do some calculations for us. Then we moved to more and more advanced features. Microsoft started introducing formulae. It's now having a formula assistant with a built-in AI feature. So a lot of things have changed in a way that it's becoming easier and easier for us to do operational tasks every day. And the word operational itself is getting redefined every day. So it's a manner of saying that artificial intelligence is after all artificial, right? It will be brutally objective, but not at all subjective. It will be objective to the extent that if you enter in the inputs on what your financial goals are going to be for the next 15, 20 years, you input your salary, you input your expenses, it will probably tell you not to buy a house, for example. And that's a debate I see on LinkedIn going on and on about, like, should you be renting a house or should you be buying the house? An artificial intelligence tool might tell you in a higher probability that looking at the tax benefits, looking at the amount of money that you're going to save on interest and everything, it's making sense to just rent out a house, right? But if you add the human touch to it, one of our dreams as in when we start out as young professionals or when we start off our careers is to have a house of our own. Maybe it's a 1 BHK or 2 BHK, doesn't matter. But let's have a home which we can call our own, which we can customize and paint around, do some DIY corners, right? We have all those dreams when we start out. So that's where the human touch will be irreplaceable. Whenever you talk about emotions, an artificial intelligence by its very nature cannot be emotional. It has to be subjective, and rightfully so, because it has to be available 24/7 for you. It has to run some calculations for you which are maybe humanly not possible. So you cannot expect an artificial intelligence to be real intelligence, and real intelligence is us. And to add to this, it reminds me of something that I read in a Yuval Noah Harari book. It's called Homo Deus. So it's a book about how people are going to evolve, how Homo sapiens are going to evolve in the future. Today we are talking about Neuralink. We are talking about implanting a chip inside your brain which will do the work for you. For example, I recently saw a video of a person who's paralyzed from the neck down, and he has a chip implanted in his brain, and he's actually playing chess on the computer, and he's making his own moves. Technology has reached to this extent that you are enabling a person who is physically not enabled enough to do something as simple as playing chess moves. So technology, after all, is an enablement. But in the book, he talks about the technology, after all, integrating with the human genetics, right? Because the more and more you try to evolve, the more and more try to selectively introduce certain genes or certain qualities, and it was very technical and scientific, but this is what I can recall, that somehow you will become integrated with AI to the extent that you will become dependable on AI for certain day-to-day daily tasks. For example, if you want to switch on your fan, you should just be thinking about it and the fan switches off or switches on itself. That is where we are heading to. But are we looking at the real cost-benefit analysis of it, for example? Are we looking at whether, are we moving away from the real human touch? And what exactly is human touch? It's just a chemical reaction of emotions inside your brain, nothing else, right? Some hormones playing inside your brain and you feel attracted to a person. Some hormones playing inside your brain and you want to punch that same person at times. So it's all about, and you cannot replicate these reactions or these emotions in a machine. At least till now. You can induce these reactions, you can induce these reactions in a certain way, but you cannot be replicating this inside a machine. You don't have robots till now doing the same job as, say, raising a child with values, right? You will still need a mother for that. You will still need a father for that. So that's where we are at this point. AI is not going to replace you. It is going to add value to you as an employee to the organization, as a person. Personally, it's going to add value to you by, say, giving you investment advice. But it's not going to be the person who actually comforts you when you're feeling low. Try as you may on ChatGPT, typing the prompts that you may want, but it will not replace the fact that you may want to have someone back home who actually gives you a live advice. 20 years ago, we used to ask our fathers, our mothers on financial advice and career advice and personal advice. Today, you have ChatGPT doing all of that. But you cannot replace that with the feeling of going back home and telling someone that, something bad happened at work today. How did you used to deal with that? That comes with experience. That does not come with data. So I think till the time emotions don't replace data, AI will not replace humans.
Thank you, sir. That's really nice. I think we're supposed to change our thoughts on AI after hearing you. If you don't mind, can I ask one more question to you, sir?
Sure.
Okay. In what ways can fintech contribute to the vision of Viksit Bharat? And what key initiatives should the government undertake to strengthen this ecosystem?
When we talk about Viksit Bharat, we talked about a country which is one of the fastest major growing economies with an average rate of 7 to 7.4 percentage. Has been projected by the World Bank, the IMF to grow at an unprecedented rate. Something that, say, our neighbors, China, was growing at around 8 to 10%, not a lot of years ago, not a lot of decades ago. So we are moving towards an era where we might as well become the third largest economy in the next 4 to 5 years, by 2029, 2030. But when we talk about Viksit Bharat, what exactly, and this, I'm trying to be as apolitical as I can be. We are talking about the basic necessities, right? We are talking about having a good infrastructure, having good education systems, having good medical facilities. We are talking about all of those things happening at the same time. What financial technology can do is it can bring in more financial literacy, and it can be more about financial inclusion, which we have all been discussing about, right? Today we have come to a point where we have folks coming in from various walks of life and various backgrounds, talking about these technologies and talking about great examples, like you talked about your village example where things were delivered at a temple and the lady who was receiving the articles was paying via Paytm. Then you talked about your town, where you come from, and how financial penetration has reached the very nook and corner of the Indian society. So, and you come from an application which is handing the power of investment to these very people. And these applications and these technologies are readily available to us. It's not like you have to apply for them. Like 50 years ago, I remember, and this is very funny, so I'm not sure if all of us were, few of us were even born in those times. I'm talking about the 50s and 60s when we used to apply for a phone connection, and my parents, my father actually, who was unmarried then, applied for a phone connection, and the connection actually arrived after my grandfather died, and the connection was applied in my grandfather's name. So they had to actually lie to the, back then it was BSNL, they had to actually lie to BSNL that my grandfather is actually in the toilet, and so that they can actually go ahead and establish the connection. From that point on, we have come to a point where you walk into an Airtel showroom or a Vodafone showroom and you can get a connection in a few minutes. So that's where we are heading to. We are heading towards making our lives more comfortable. We are heading towards having roads which have manageable traffic. That's where Viksit Bharat is heading towards. And I think having more knowledge about how to deal with your finances is where financial technology is going to play a role. For example, you were talking about Zerodha, having a Zerodha Versity. Initiatives like that is going to greatly help out people who are just starting out in investing. I think there were a lot of questions about long-term investments and short-term and medium-term goals to Gaurav say here. And he rightfully answered that you need to plan what exactly your vision is going to be in the short term, in the medium term, or the long term, and how much of a risk appetite you are going to go in with, right? If you're thinking about long term, then you need to have certain sort of investments, say provident fund, which is going to guarantee you some retirement funds. Medium term, let's say you're going to invest in a house, then invest in large cap, and so on and so forth. So that kind of financial literacy is required for us as investors to invest our money in the right place, and trust the Indian firms and companies more and more. That trust comes with a lot of reputation and building. I think that's where key CSR initiatives also play a big role. What the government can do about this? Well, the government has already done a lot of things, and I guess people sitting in the government are not just politicians, but technocrats and various bureaucrats who already know a lot more than we do. But having said that, there are a lot of key initiatives by the government. In the budget this time, we have a lot of initiatives on AI. There's a lot of investments in that field. There is a hike in education as well. But that remains a point of concern after all. So I guess what, in my personal opinion, and this is not coming from where I work, but in my personal opinion, there needs to be a lot more focus on education, because after all, well, knowledge without wisdom is just alphabets without, a word adding to it. So you need to have some sort of initiative from the government to drive more and more financial literacy. I think SEBI has been playing that role for a while now. Startups like Zerodha, and I don't think Zerodha is a startup anymore, it's a very responsible firm growing and expanding. Companies like Deloitte, EY, JP Morgan, I think we have a huge role in playing, in driving the point that you don't need to just have finance, you need to Gaurav sir's point, also focus on creating wealth. So that's where I think the government needs to focus a lot more on wealth creation and educating people more about how to handle their newly found financial resources. So that would be my submission.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for emphasizing more on financial inclusion and government, what are the initiatives are taking in the name of Viksit Bharat. Thank you, sir. To conclude this, today's discussion highlighted how fintech is reshaping financial services into more inclusive and technology-driven ecosystems. We discussed the need for professionals to continuously adapt and growing empowerment of investors through digital platforms. The conversation also emphasized that fintech must be built on trust, financial literacy, and responsibility. When used thoughtfully, it can support inclusive growth and broader economic development. Thank you to our panelists for the valuable insights. And thank you to the audience for your attention. Thank you, everyone.